Hey guys, it's Pcol here, and welcome back to AC1 Dual Commentary with me and ID.
Hey, what's up, guys? We just spent at least 45 minutes trying to figure out how best to record the audio because we were struggling so much with Piccol's internet issues. We were struggling with Discord. We were struggling with OBS. So we're having to take a different approach where I'm going to be the one who is recording the audio. I'll be sending my audio to him, and then he'll put it on. He'll then align it with his video.
This is the most convoluted, confusing thing, because I have to record the game, then I have to send the video of the game to ID, and then he has to send... We have to, like, get together and then record the audio while watching the video on, like, our own different setups. And then he has to record the audio himself and then send the audio back to me.
It is hell, guys. Let me tell you, this is.
Should really not be as bad as we're making it out, but we're just being stupid.
Not that. It's just your internet is fucking up on us.
I can't control how my bad internet works.
But it's not easy.
My PS4 is literally the only thing that doesn't work on my internet.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll just leave it at that. Let's resume what we're doing right now with Assassin's Creed. So, we previously left off with Altair being stabbed by Altair. I'm sorry. What am I saying? Altair.
Yeah, Altair stabbed himself. There you go. Good. You say you're perfect.
Hey! Don't blame me. I'm fatigued from the shit that we had to go through to get this done. But okay. I need to maintain composure right now. But Altair was stabbed by Al-Mualim in the previous part. And we are back in the modern day right now. So we just beat Sequence 1 yesterday, so now we're on Sequence 2. Where Altair is revealed to be alive. And Al-Mualim has tasked him to take out these 9 Templars. Who, Pcol, if you'd gladly say the names of the 9 Templars real quick?
No.
No? Okay.
I don't remember all the... I think there's like... Fuck it. I think there's like Tamir... I'm not gonna say them in order because I'm bad. There's like Tamir, Talal, Abu Nakud,
Sibrand.
Yeah, Sibrand, Roberta Sabo if you want to count him. Fucking... Jamal... No, not Jamal.
Majdadin.
Majdadin... Was it Jamal or was Jamal the traitor? I don't remember. There's a J guy in Damascus.
That was, I think that was Haras. No, wait, not Haras. What am I saying?
Haras is the guy from Revelation.
What am I talking about? Oh god, we're off to a great start with this recording, aren't we?
Our brains are being so fucky right
now. Oh my god. Okay. But anyway. We're tasked with killing these 9 Templars, and this is where the game is going to open up with its pseudo open world design, because AC1 is largely linear, and it uses the open world design to complement that linearity. And this game was definitely revolutionary for its time, with allowing you to climb a lot of things. You'll be seeing Pcol demonstrate the complex parkour systems. I'm not sure if he demonstrates it in this part, or if he's going to do it in the later parts, but the parkour in this game, a lot of fun to utilize, despite it being simple at first.
Right, though.
Yeah.
Like, there's a part later where, like, we go to do this first E-drop, and I accidentally climb the wall and I try to get on the bench. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. It takes a level of skill to do that kind of thing, but that's just the main thing that's happening right now. And who's the first target you go after in this game?
Then tell me what it is that I must
like
do.
the traitor or the first guy in Damascus?
The first guy in Damascus.
Tamir.
Tamir, yeah. So that's the first guy we're going towards. What do you think is your favorite location in this game?
What can you tell me of the traitor?
I feel like I've always liked Akre, because Akre is like, I don't know. I don't really like how like all the buildings are destroyed, because sometimes the parkour kind of messes up. But like Akre is like probably one of the better cities.
Yeah, I especially like the combat music that plays with Akre, and I think Jerusalem has the best ambient music. It definitely shows Jesper Kid at his best.
Jerusalem is fun because when you first go to Jerusalem, you can run over people with a horse, and it's the best.
I mean, I don't waste time with that, but I mean that's how you prefer to play. Okay, but Yeah, I just like Jerusalem's ambient music that plays, because that definitely shows Jesper Kid at his best. Jesper Kid was the guy who did the soundtrack for all the Assassin's Creed games starring Ezio and also this game. And
And also worked on Valhalla for a little bit, but he was like working with 2 other people on that.
yeah, and Valhalla didn't really have the best soundtrack. I mean, there were at least like 3 or 4 songs that did have some standout moments compared to the other Assassin's Creed games that he worked on. That were a lot of the songs just really stood out greatly. I mean, with AC1's soundtrack personally, I'm not a big fan of a lot of the music that plays. I don't think it has the same level of freedom or color or character as AC2, Brotherhood, or Revelations. But there are some standout moments here and there. Like, I like the music that plays where, you know how when you kill a Templar, and it's playing that whole music where everyone just knows where you are, and it's called, like, Access the Animus. And
I think that plays in the credits too.
yeah, it does as well, and it also plays when you're looking at the game in the PS3 menu, but you don't actually click on the game. It just plays that background music. Like, it's definitely one of my favorite pieces of music because it really captures the chase feeling with Assassin's Creed. And can I just say that Assassin's Creed 1 and all of the Ezio games know how to make the chases feel very frenetic and epic. Yeah, like the music, the quotes that the guards are saying, just the silly things that the guards are doing really capture that essence of the chases. And they put less emphasis on this in Assassin's Creed 3 and the games afterwards, and that's why being chased by guards just isn't very fun. Like, I love the chases so much in the older Assassin's Creed games that anytime I would just be running towards a mission objective, I would always be starting like combat encounters and then running away just to get the guards to chase me, just to get a lot more excitement out of the game. It's something I love to do in these games, but that represents the soundtrack aspect of the Assassin's Creed games I like. But there's actually some big news that we need to discuss about Assassin's Creed right now, and like the biggest thing is that Darby McDevitt, the guy who wrote Revelations, Embers, Assassin's Creed 4, and also Valhalla, as well as Bloodlines, he has left Ubisoft, and the reasoning for this is he wants to start something different with whatever company he chooses to go towards.
I think he went to like some like company called like Intelligent Systems or something. I don't know, Intelligent something. And I think it's a company that like a lot of like ex-Ubisoft employees go to. So like I feel like he's in good hands.
Yeah, definitely. Because really, Ubisoft felt like it feels like Ubisoft was mistreating them a lot.
Yeah.
You know, like
Ubisoft definitely does mistreat people because we all know what happened, like the sexual assault stuff that happened.
Yeah, I still can't believe Ashraf Ismail would do something like that.
Yeah.
And then, like, and also with the voice actor for Altair in Revelations, I can't believe he would do something like that. Because honestly, like, I don't like Altair's voice actor in Assassin's Creed 1. I just think he contrasts too much from the setting of the game, and he doesn't have the best voice acting. But I just feel like the Altair's voice actor in Revelations, he really captures Altair well, but for him to just have that kind of sexual assault allegations against him, it's hard to believe someone like him would be capable of doing that. You know? It's sad thinking about that. I guess that's why there's a whole phrase of never meet your heroes, because then you really understand the deeper minutiae to them. Yeah. It's terrible.
With today's age of like the internet, like you can do like anything, and like people could like use that like a few years later and just be like try to cancel you and be like, oh, this guy said this or did this, or like this happened to me and this guy was involved, and like it could fucking really screw you over.
Yeah, like remember like Rooster Teeth with the whole Ryan Haywood incident?
Oh yeah,
that
was dumb.
Yeah, that was
and, like,
awful.
Also, people can like deep fakes and like make fake things with like a fake AI thing that can like replicate your voice and like make it seem like you would say something that you wouldn't actually say.
Yeah, and they actually used this kind of deepfake technology in films. Like I know the Mandalorian used deepfake technology to put Luke Skywalker, like young Luke Skywalker, in, and they also did the same with the Last Jedi with Princess Leia, because Carrie Fisher had actually died very early on before the film was even finished. But it's just hard to believe that people would try to abuse such technology. Like, I recently watched Inside Edition, and apparently this mom tried to put a deep fake video of her daughter like vaping, so that she would be kicked out of the cheerleading thing, or at least that's what I thought. Or was it like she wanted her daughter to be a part of the cheerleading team and get all the competition out of the way, something like that. But it's just hard to believe the lengths that people will go to do these kind of things. And I just question what fans of the Assassin's Creed games felt when they heard these allegations. Surely they didn't believe them at first. It's...
I mean, I feel like a lot of people like felt personally betrayed because they like said they like interacted with like all these like developers and people that they trusted and like people that they knew that they worked on games that they like spent money on and loved and like spent years of their lives playing, and then for that stuff to come out, they were just like, oh, this series is tainted now with like sexual assault people that just don't care and like abuse their power.
Yeah, but really, one could make the argument of one can hate the developer but hate the game separately. Yeah, I mean, that's like, hearing all these allegations has not affected my thoughts on the Assassin's Creed games. I mean, I love all the Assassin's Creed games up until Assassin's Creed Revelations, and then AC4. I did play AC4 recently, and considering all the shit that has released with Assassin's Creed lately, AC4 was a blessing in disguise. Because originally I didn't like AC4 and the direction it was going, and the whole idea of you becoming an assassin at the end of the game was kind of off-putting, but you know, just hearing LaserZ's thoughts on Assassin's Creed 4 and really understanding the direction of the writing and Darby's skill involved with actually satisfying fans' expectations on Edward Kenway. You know, you really come to understand why EC4 is lauded by many as being one of the best Assassin's Creed games.
You know, like, even just going back to AC1 to record for this like playthrough, it's just like so good coming back to this game after like spending so long playing Valhalla. Like, I haven't even gone back to Valhalla since like in like 4 months or something, and like the next DLC is coming out for it pretty soon, and like I just don't care.
Yeah, same with me. Like, when I beat Valhalla, I haven't even touched it. I think I even deleted it off my PlayStation. I mean, it's probably still on my PlayStation 4, but I did download the PlayStation 5 version because I think you get a free upgrade with that, but I just deleted it. One, because of storage capacity issues, and also because I wasn't really finding any incentive to go back to that game, because that game is so bloated with content. That's just lacking in the long run. Whereas, at least in Assassin's Creed 1 and like the Ezio games, for instance, they trusted the content that they had. They didn't have to overinflate the worlds with just like lackluster content, because the more you put, the less you'll have. I mean, that's a statement that a lot of people have made. You know, like, there's a reason why like greedy, like we critique these greedy individuals who have all this money, for instance, like money. Like, what are you going to be doing with that money? Like, the more money you'll have, like, what are you going to have in the future? That's just what I felt like with games like Origins and Odyssey and Valhalla, but this is not the same case with these games. Like Assassin's Creed 1 up until what would you say, like Assassin's Creed 4, like, they trusted what they were giving us. And when you have that level of confidence in everything that you're putting into a game, you're going to ensure the best quality with your game.
Yeah, and I recently watched like 4P's clip video from like Lasers, where like he was like talking about the Assassin's Creed canon. It's like literally the only things that matter to him that are canon are like AC1 to Revelations, and he literally said like Ubisoft doesn't care anymore about the series, so why should I? Like if the developers of the series that are making the series don't care about the series, then why should the players care about it?
I mean, yeah, it's just, it's sad hearing that from him, you know?
Yeah, like, and he's like been with the series like even longer than me, because like he started playing it like, when he was like a kid, and I started playing it in like high school. Like, I started Assassin's Creed AC3, he started since the beginning, so like if you started from the beginning like LaserZ did, then like it must hurt even more.
Yeah, no kidding. Imagine what all those like Rooster Teeth fans felt when they heard of what Ryan Haywood did. I mean, they've been with that guy for a long time, and you know, they didn't bat an eyelid to anything that he said. But when all those allegations came out that he was raping minors and, you know, being very violent in his assaults, like some of the things I read, I mean, I wasn't phased by it at all because I'm quite desensitized to that kind of stuff. But it's you really you come to understand just what people are capable of when they really put their mind to something, whether it be good or evil.
But like, yeah, like you said earlier, you just gotta like separate the artwork from like the people that make it. Sometimes it's like how people say like, oh, like if you like Harry Potter, then you have to like Harry Potter separate from J.K. Rowling because like everyone knows that she's a transphobe and a TERF and whatever, and like everyone hates her, but like people still love Harry Potter.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if the last, like, you know, a great game I can excite? Last of Us Part 2. Like, I know you brought up this analogy with me, Pcol, but like, the amount of death threats that Abby got, like the person who played as Abby, and like you gave a really good analogy, like hating the developers and then you're hating the game in the process. It's like saying you hate the like you hate the company that made this like this brand, for instance, this food item of some sort, and then therefore you hate the food or something like that. But like that doesn't make any sense if the food tastes good, yet it's made by a shitty developer. I mean, can you really say the food is bad at that point? It's like I don't get this. I don't get these people at all, and like this is why I'm so critical of anyone who even tries to go out of their way to defend these shitty games or to defend these shitty people, because there's just so many people like that. And oh my god, I did not realize this guy was red.
Yeah, because that's actually the traitor that like they were mentioned earlier in the like the missions. I wanted to show that, and you can actually like kill him and get chased off by the other assassins.
Yeah, and I noticed you didn't actually lose any synchronization in your health. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that either when I recorded this.
Yeah, but I didn't realize he appeared there. I thought he only appeared at a certain point, like right near the front gate of Masyaf.
No, he's there for like the entire game. Like he's not even there like right now. He like you can be at the end of the game and like still go see him there.
Yeah, but if you're wondering who that guy is, he's the one who let the Templars in when they first assaulted Masyaf after Altair returned when he failed to retrieve the apple. And I mean, this brings me back to another tangent that I previously touched upon in part 1, but the Eagle Vision, I mean, you yourself said that the way Altair feels, like, the way he perceives the environment is what influences Eagle Vision's effectiveness, but in that moment, I mean, he wasn't actively searching for this traitor. I mean, there wasn't any moment where Al-Mualim informed him that some traitor opened the front gate, so how did he know, without any kind of perception of the environment, or that he was supposed to actually perceive it the way he did? How did he know that was the traitor?
Because the things that he learned during the investigation missions. Like he learned that like someone opened the gates and it was Jamal, and like apparently like I guess like he like Eagle Vision just told him because like I don't know how to explain this.
But was that guy that Al-Mualim killed not the? I thought that was Jamal.
No, he was just like an accomplice that.
Oh, okay. Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
He wasn't like the specific traitor. He just helped with like doing it.
Okay, so in that sense, that makes sense. That makes total sense why that's the case. Why he shows up red. But I guess that's also why Al-Mualim doesn't show up as red until the end of the game. And yeah, it's odd that Eagle Vision would work like that, and I mean Eagle Vision's origins are just kind of like put aside greatly, and they've
kind of like changed throughout every single game, because like for some reason in like AC4 to Syndicate you can mark people with Eagle Vision, but then in the older games you can't.
Yeah, but I think that's more so of a gameplay mechanic because it never shows up in cutscenes, for instance. But then again, Eagle Vision doesn't really show up in cutscenes as well, right?
Yeah. Like, it's mentioned in cutscenes, but, like, it's, like, not actually ever, like, physically used in cutscenes.
Yeah.
And even then, in cutscenes, they never call it Eagle Vision. They just say, like, oh, look, it's a special gift.
Yeah, like, I can remember Ezio describing the sense in Revelations when he was looking for that woman who was impersonating as a... What was she? She was a harem girl or a gypsy. But he described his sense of Eagle Vision to this apprentice of his, saying that his senses are sharper than most. And maybe it's not like maybe what's happening with Eagle Vision is that the targets aren't being highlighted, but like that sense of the targets being red, gold, blue, or white, that's in our eyes. But maybe in the Assassin's Creed canon, they're not actually being highlighted. It's just they're able to detect like heartbeats, for instance, that may be escalating greatly because this person's trying to hide who they are. And maybe that kind of translates into the red outline you see, and also with the way the character perceives certain enemies, as you said. So maybe that's probably the best reasoning I can give. So that's probably why that's the case.
But also that one thing is just like a little like special Easter egg thing that like if you don't know what's there, then like you can just skip it. But if you know what to look for, then it's there for players that are looking for it.
Yeah, but I find it interesting how they don't really give you. Do they give you an achievement on Xbox for killing that guy?
I don't think so, because he respawns in later sequences. So probably not.
But it seems odd for Ubisoft to put that in there, but not really tailor any kind of specific accolade or achievement to that event of killing him.
I mean, also when you kill him, the other assassins get angry at you. So like, I guess the game just treats like him as like a normal enemy.
I guess so. Yeah. Oh, and also right here, you might be noticing that we have to constantly like go through this little area here in order to get to the other cities. Where there's going to be a point in the game where the game's going to give you the option to fast travel to the cities and completely skip this whole middle area. I find it very odd that the game has to actually proc that ability to fast travel to the cities later on in the game, but it doesn't give you it at the start. So I think for the later parts that where we don't have this ability to fast travel yet, we're going to be cutting out these moments so that we're not wasting too much time just traversing this whole entire area. But we're just showing it. We're showing it to you right now just to like show off this whole entire area the first time, and then we're just going to trim it out in the later parts. But there's just there's not much to really do in these middle areas right here. All you can really do is hunt Templars and also hunt for flags. And are there any other side activities you can do in this game aside from what I've just listed?
I mean, viewpoints, but like...
Yeah, viewpoints. Okay. But really, viewpoints don't really serve much in this middle area because it's kind of easy to ascertain where you're supposed to go without the need for viewpoints. I mean, in the cities, however, you'll definitely need to sync with viewpoints if you want to understand where like citizens are, or to actually unlock other events, because when you do sync up with viewpoints, you do unlock certain missions, or are those missions actually unlocked without the need to synchronize? Like, for instance, those moments where the guards are harassing citizens and you have to kill those guards in order to unlock, like, blending spots, for instance?
No, you can just find them.
Okay, that's good. But, yeah, I mean, the side activities on this game don't stretch the margin yet, because this was, of course, the very first Assassin's Creed game, so there's no real reason to critique that.
Interesting about them, like some developer's kid was like, there's nothing to do in this game, so they put them in for the kid, and then that's why they're there.
Yeah, so I need to explain this right now, but the whole reason why these side activities are here and why they feel kind of mundane and completely unnecessary is because one of the developer's kids, I think he was like 11 years old or something, he played this game, right? And he just thought it was boring. So they decide to put in these arbitrary side objectives that don't really feel like you're really doing much, just to give some kind of diversity to the game. But really, I just ignore those entirely because the main story takes precedence over anything else in this game. And
like whenever I 100% an Assassin's Creed game, or like really any game, I always do all the side stuff after I do the main story.
Yeah, I mean, because that's just your nature, pretty much.
Yeah, unless it's a game like Origins or Odyssey where they force you to do side quests to level up to be able to do the main story.
Yeah, and in fact, this is something we should definitely touch upon. But why would they force you down side quests if they're like? There's no sense to why they would force you. Like the whole point of side quests is just to give you some kind of distraction from the main story, but not directly influence the progression of the main story. That's why they're called side missions. But when you go out of your way to force the player to participate in these side activities, just to force the player to experience this so-called beautiful world that you've made, that to me just screams arrogance, and it's just a complete misunderstanding as to what side missions are. But really, Ubisoft shouldn't have anything like that because they perfected side missions in the other Assassin's Creed games. I mean, look at Brotherhood, for instance. Brotherhood side missions, they don't force you to do them, but in some ways they help contribute to the main story because, you know, dismantling the Borgia towers, doing the Templar agent missions, you know, they feel like they contribute some way to the story, but not like in a way that forces you to progress down those areas. And furthermore, if you do those side activities, you unlock other side activities, like for instance with the Corsina memories. That right there is a great example of a game understanding how to do side missions, because that is exactly what the definition of a side mission is. But it's like, if you're going to be forcing us to do side missions, then why not just class them as main missions? And the thing is that with Valhalla, I really felt like that was the case with a lot of the main missions. I mean, you should feel the same way, because a lot of the arcs that you're forced to go on, they feel like side activities in the world that don't really contribute to the main story.
You know, like Valhalla, like literally like a third or like even less than that of Valhalla actually felt like the main game, and like all the other main arcs were just like, why am I even doing this? Why do I care about these characters that like don't matter at all and that I'm never gonna see again? Like, why do any of these things matter? Nothing that I'm doing actually like matters to anyone or anything, and it's not gonna make a difference.
Yeah, and really, like, the only arc in that game that didn't directly tie in with the assassins that I actually liked was, you know that one arc where you have to help that king assume his throne, and he's kind of a terrible king at first, but then you eventually teach him how to be this good king, and then he gets into a fight with this guy, and then he falls off the high building, and then eventually he survives, and then he then has this wedding with this guy. Like, what was the name of that arc again? Do you remember that?
I don't remember the name of the arc, but I think that was like the Oscar, like the king arc, like Great Oscar or something, whatever.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, that was the one. I think that was his name.
That was the arc they show off in like promo stuff too.
Yeah, but that has to be my favorite non-assassin related arc from that game. Every other arc, I just think they did it for superfluous reasons. And really, like, the only other arc that stood out to me was Gloucestershire, because it was Halloween, and you were doing, like, Halloween-related stuff. But even then, I skipped the dialogue, because I just got to a point where I just didn't care about the dialogue at all. I just knew the dialogue was not going to contribute to anything important. Like, where is the incentive to partake in your story when you're just going to be bloating the game out like that? And I just feel like it was worse for me on Valhalla because I didn't touch Odyssey. Like, did you... Like, I know you played Odyssey a lot, and you felt really bummed out with that game, but did you really feel like the impact you got from Valhalla was lessened by the fact that you played Odyssey?
I feel like with Valhalla there was like more stuff that actually mattered, because Valhalla they actually like tried to do like more assassin stuff, but like Odyssey had like none of that. But even then in Valhalla, like the assassin stuff they put in wasn't even there for V4, it was just there for you, and like none of it actually mattered because of that. So like,
yeah.
even then, even when they tried to put it in, it still didn't even matter at all.
Yeah, it's just so sad, because I did like those moments where you were with the assassins. Like, I liked the moments where you were with Basim, and I even saved his dialogue because I just like the way he talks, and it just feels like something that gives me AC1 nostalgia with the way he's just describing life and when he's describing humanity. And then in the end, it turns out that he's Loki, but he's resurrected as Basim, and you know, that really hit me hard. Like, we differ on our perception on this, but I really liked that moment where he betrays you, because it hit me hard. It hit me hard, and I was just cursing him out the whole time, because I originally looked at him and I thought, is he a member of the Order of the Ancients? That's so heartbreaking to see such an amazing character like Basim just betray you in that moment. But then it turns out he's just this issue that's been reincarnated, but they didn't really go anywhere with that aspect. Like, obviously we see that Eivor fights off Odin easily, and then we see that moment in Valhalla, and really that part where you escape Valhalla, that has to be one of my favorite parts. I think it was done really well, like that moment where Eivor like drops his or her axe, and you then run towards the exit from Valhalla, and then Odin's trying to pull you back. I think that was done really well, and I especially like the music, and I like the thematic elements in play. And then with Basim, I like that whole moment with Basim. That has to be one of my favorite parts of the game. But really, that was the only moment that stood out with me. Every other moment with Basim, I mean, it had impact, but then everything else, it's forgettable. Like, what were they doing? It
I
makes no
also kind of
sense.
feel like a lot of the stuff from Valhalla was ruined for me because of how many crashes I had while playing the game.
Yeah,
So
and
like I would like watch a cutscene or like do something in the game and the game would just crash and I would have to do it all over again. It was like I just don't care anymore. Like I already did this once. There's no reason I should be doing this again just because the game had a fuck you moment and I decided to crash randomly for no reason.
yeah. Oh, and by the way, right here, Pcol just did those investigation moments. So how this game works is when you're trying to hunt down the Templars, you have to do these investigation moments where you either pickpocket someone, or you listen in on a conversation, or you beat up a herald who's inciting the public. And you do at least like 3 or 4 of these investigations in order to get some information for your target. I mean, really, they don't offer that much of an advantage. They're just kind of there to give some element to the game, and at least like give the game some length. But I think when you replay these memories after you beat the game, you don't have to do these investigations again. It saves your progress. Is that true?
Like if you play on the same file,
Yeah. Like when you beat the game and then
uh,
you replay these memories.
it still counts them as completed, but like you can still do other ones. Like they still appear again if you completed them, and they count as completed in like the DNA menu. But you can do them again if you want.
Yeah, but how do you feel about that whole aspect of being forced down this route of interrogating all these individuals before you're allowed to take out the target?
I mean, I feel like it like gives more lore on like the target and like the person you're hunting, and
Yeah,
it definitely like leads into the story of like, oh, you're a novice again. You have to like build your way back up into the Brotherhood. And I could also see how like people be like, oh, that makes the game repetitive and boring. It's like, yeah, I thought that too when I first played the game, but like I've played this game so many times now, it's just like I just have respect for it.
yeah, and I guess that's really the whole question you got to ask. When, at a point in a game's life cycle, are you supposed to come up with the whole argument of a game being repetitive? Like, what do you think is the answer for that? When should you bring up that argument?
I mean, that's kind of hard to answer. Like, I feel like it kind of depends on the game that you're playing.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Like with Call of Duty, for instance, they reuse a lot of the same mentalities and fundamental designs and mechanics, and it really gets repetitive. But I just feel like with the newer Call of Duties, for instance, they really try to diversify their single player campaigns in a way that's interesting, and it feels kind of different from the previous Call of Duty games. But with Assassin's Creed, they tend to kind of favor the same kind of fundamental designs, but at the same time, you know, they give you other content to do along the way, and they threw all this out the window with Origins and Odyssey, and I think even before that, you know, like Syndicate, for instance. I think Syndicate, I don't really remember the side activities being that interesting in Syndicate.
Yeah, I mean, like normally I've like most of these games I put like 100% of them multiple times, and like Unity and Syndicate are like some of the two of the ones that I haven't even done like more than once. So like I barely remember anything from them.
Well, at least you remember something, because I haven't even beaten Syndicate yet. I mean, I already know the story for that game, but I see
Well,
no incentive to go back.
I haven't done the story of Syndicate since like 2015 when I first played the game. So like, barely
Yeah.
remember it still.
Yeah, but I don't blame you for feeling that way, because really Syndicate is just a joke of the Assassin's Creed series. It's just meant to be a mockery. It's a mockery of the series. But yeah, I mean it's understandable why, because Syndicate was developed by Quebec, and Quebec was the same division of Ubisoft that made Odyssey. And I just, you know, Quebec really set this game series in the wrong direction. and really Assassin's Creed has suffered because of it. I don't know if I'm gonna feel if I'm gonna feel very excited about the DLCs of Valhalla. I mean, I have heard that they're not tailoring towards the mythological aspects. They're tailoring more towards the more grounded aspects, the more like realistic aspects. But really, given the choice of gameplay that Valhalla favors, will it really be that exciting?
I mean, like, most of Valhalla now, like, all the post-content stuff for Valhalla is just like, woo Vikings, because to historical Vikings, because we don't care about Assassin's Creed anymore, we just want to make a good historical game, and just slap Assassin's Creed on it to make money. That's basically all they do now, is like, that's why all the marketing for Valhalla was just like, ooh, Viking stuff, you get to kill and murder, pillage people, and burn down houses and do all that fun Viking stuff, go raiding with the boys. And it's just like, who cares?
Yeah, and like really, Laser Z and his friends are the only ones actually delivering the right message with Valhalla. That it's actually trying to bring back some remnant of Assassin's Creed, but everyone else was just living up the hype with hashtag like a Viking, which I'm not even going to go into a lot of details with how cringy that sounds. Like, if you've not seen the IGN videos that they posted when they were promoting Valhalla and the like a Viking hashtag, some of the cringiest stuff ever. It might as well be as cringy if like as the Alexa commercials they gave with Odyssey, or the moments where that Alexios cosplayer was answering questions from the Assassin's Creed community. I mean, it's just like, what the fuck is Ubisoft doing at this point? Like,
They just don't care, but like, if they don't care, then why should I care? Why should any of us care anymore and buy these games if like they just don't care? If the creator doesn't care, then why should the people who buy them care?
yeah, exactly. But I think
that's probably why Darby left, because like I guess he felt like he wasn't being used to his full potential, because he legitimately wanted to make like good Assassin's Creed games of like all the assassin stuff, but then like the higher ups at Ubisoft were just like, no, we have to push Vikings because that's what sells, and no one cares about assassins anymore.
yeah, like Darby has maintained such a close connection with Laser Z that he even participates in Laser Z's live streams, and I remember seeing the final part of Laser Z's live stream, and he was just talking about how Eivor just takes a complete 180 in character development. Like, throughout the whole entire game, you know, Eivor is constantly coming to terms and just constantly conflicting with the assassin ideology and also the Viking ideology. And then when Eivor does the whole Valhalla moment where Eivor drops his or her axe, and then they actually escape from Valhalla and they deal with Basim, and then you have those the epilogue moments where they're trying to you know, give their friends, you know, last rites, because most of their friends have died in this war against Alfred. You know, Eivor says there's no afterlife, so really, like, they establish Eivor as trying to, as they in that scene, it makes it seem like Eivor is cutting ties with the Viking ideology and iconography and all that. But then, for some unknown reason, when you talk with Hytham, and Hytham offers Eivor the chance to join the Assassins, Eivor is just like, no, we're gonna be pillaging, we're gonna be doing all these, we want to be out in the open, this and that. But like, what the hell? Well, why did you do that complete 180 when you're completely discrediting all the build-up you've given towards Eivor? I mean, they were trying to take a very similar approach to Edward, because Edward kind of goes through the same thing as Eivor, but then you do a complete 180 at the end out of nowhere, and it just completely destroys any of the build-up you've built, and it once again complements the point that Pcol brought up. Like, everything you're doing in Valhalla just feels like it doesn't contribute to anything.
Your plan seems solid enough.
And like, I feel like even Darby himself was like, oh, I wish I would have like worded that better and like wrote it better, because it doesn't make any sense that Eivor would just do a 180 like that.
Yeah, but I remember some comments that Darby left in his stream, in Laser Z's stream, and he said that, you know, like the whole idea of the Viking joining the Assassins doesn't make any sense given their conflicting ideologies, and maybe like, something like that. It would just seem very odd for like history portrays the Vikings as being the pillaging sort, and they believe in human slavery, this and that, which is what goes against the very nature of the assassins, or something like that. So they just thought it'd be very weird. But I'm just like, you did pirates, for instance, were just as ruthless as the Vikings. Yet, like Edward still found himself like inside of that whole pirate persona, and he found who he truly was, and he like completely cut ties with his persona as a pirate and became an assassin. So that argument that Darby gave makes no sense at all, and it's like he's forgetting what he made with Edward in AC4, and that was really a point of contention on my part. And I don't remember the other things that Darby said, but some of the other things that Darby said were very, very confusing to understand. And it's just like, you made these... The things you're saying right now are completely contradictory to how you approached AC4, for instance. So why are you behaving like this? It doesn't make any sense in that aspect. And I'm not trying to criticize the man, but I'm just saying that the way he kind of phrased those statements in LaserZ's stream just came across as being points of contention, and points that really didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, like, I feel like Dynamite, like one of the other four pillars, like one of Laser's friends, like said this, where like the quality of the writing in Valhalla is definitely like Darby level quality of writing, but like the content of the writing is like, it just makes no sense.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a really good summary to give.
Like, the quality is better than the content in Valhalla for some reason. It's kind of dumb, but like, it's still Darby level quality.
Yeah, and going back to points of contention with Valhalla, I mean, the world in Valhalla is massive, and it's filled with a lot of negative space, and, you know, LaserZ admits that there is a need for negative space, but he just could not find any kind of silver lining with the negative space in Valhalla. I mean, that game is mostly empty. It's like, why do you bother making this large world if there's nothing to do? And furthermore, when you're putting in these world events that don't even have the same level of quality as a typical side mission from Brotherhood, like, what am I doing in this world? Why have you made this world so fluffed out and all this kind of stuff? It's like, look at AC1. I already touched upon this before earlier in the video, but AC1 and the older Assassin's Creed games, they trusted what they were giving the players with their worlds. They didn't have to inflate their worlds with unnecessary content. They didn't provide a lot of negative space. I mean, like, the environments in the older Assassin's Creed games were largely city environments, and because you were an assassin and parkour was one of the core pillars that defines an Assassin's Creed game, you didn't complain about the environments at all, because there was always something for you to do when climbing the environment or exploring the whole entire area, getting a history, and just seeing all the different interactions happening between characters, and also with the side activities. I mean, like, there's a lot of confidence displayed by these developers, but really, it's just like Ubisoft's confidence waned long ago when Origins released. Or really, like, after AC4, because, I mean, Unity, Syndicate, Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, they scream lack of confidence. They scream misdirection and just not really understanding the main focus of what defines an Assassin's Creed game, or a good story, or a good game. It's just...
Ubisoft, like, they just prefer quality, they just prefer quantity over quality, and it's just dumb and it makes no sense.
Yeah, like, the model itself doesn't make any sense. Like, what you can't have... quantity over quality makes no sense at all. I mean, a great example of this is with enemy types in games. You know, there are people who want, like, so many different enemy types in a game, but they don't realize how much that leads to the enemy types being poorly designed. I mean, the chances of poor designs being present with enemy types when you have so many of them are exceedingly high, because it's a lot of work for the developers. Like, Resident Evil 6, for instance. Resident Evil 6 has a lot of enemy types, and a lot of the enemy types on that game, I mean, not really a lot though, but some of the enemy types have some really bad designs put in place, like with the Juavo, for instance. And they really help in bringing down the quality of Resident Evil 6. But then in Resident Evil 7, you don't have as many enemy types, but the enemy types are really well designed. So what model do you favor? Do you favor the one where the enemy types are poorly designed, but there's just a lot of different enemy types, or do you favor the model where you don't have as many enemy types, but they are actually well designed? And, you know, like Seraphim 17, for instance, this is a guy I talk about a lot. I feel like he favors a model where he wants a lot of enemy types in games, because he was very critical of Resident Evil 7 with its lack of enemy diversity and this kind of stuff, and he didn't feel like the enemies were that intriguing. But it's like, you've played a lot of games, and you're this kind of person who critiques the enemy designs and poor designs present in the game, yet you're not considering the simple fact that putting in so many different enemy types will just lead to bad designs. And I almost feel like I want to blurt out to Serpent 17. So you're telling me you favor bad designs present in the game, but you just want more enemy types just to make it visually appealing to yourself, like so you don't have to suffer from any kind of fatigue that you yourself shouldn't be embracing? Or do you want good enemy types or just less of them? Like, his reasoning doesn't make any sense, and like that is a great example of why favoring quantity over quality makes no sense, and it's just such counterintuitive thinking. It's hardly professional in that sense.
Yeah, and this isn't like the exact same thing, but it's like kind of similar. Like, there's a speedrunner that I watched called Linkus7, and like I was watching one of his streams one day. He was kind of talking about like something similar to this, where it's like, if you're a streamer that speedruns games, would you rather have a run of a game that's like 1 minute slower but you have better commentary, or would you rather have worse commentary but your speedrun is like worth the time? So that's like kind of the same like thing, but like clearly someone would rather have like better commentary but less like be slower in their speedrun game than like have the world record time but their commentary shit.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting you brought up that whole idea, because I think it relates once again to the whole idea of quality over quantity. Like, speedrunning, I just feel like speedrunners don't really respect, they don't respect the games for what they are. I just feel like with speedruns, you have to ignore a lot of the cool designs put in place with the game. Or when you develop a speedrunner mentality, and then you use that as a framework for justifying your critique for a game, that to me is just bad. Like, the people that are so critical of The Last of Us Part 2 and its length, I bet those people are speedrunners, and they just want to breeze through the game like it's nothing, but they're not understanding what that whole game is about. It's about the story, it's about the gameplay. That's why I don't adopt the mentality of a speedrunner, because I just feel like it presents with a lot of like bad mentalities and really, really awkward like perceptions towards games and to the world as a whole. It's contradictory thinking in that sense, and it goes against the very nature of games.
I mean, I like watching speedruns, and like I've gotten into speedrunning myself with like some things. But like, if you're gonna speedrun a game, you should at least like play through it casually a few times before you start learning the speedrun, so that you like fully understand how the game works. Instead of just be like, oh hey, I've seen this game played and I want to speedrun it for my very first playthrough. He's like, no, you're stupid. That's a bad idea.
Like, like any game that can actually make speedrunning the forefront, but still actually make the game intriguing, like that to me is a game that does it really well. Like Resident Evil 7, for instance, I feel like even when you're speedrunning Resident Evil 7, you're still utilizing a lot of the really cool designs present in Resident Evil 7, and it still feels like a casual playthrough of Resident Evil 7. But then you have, and furthermore, another reason why I don't like speedruns is any game that has to be designed for speedrunning, they oftentimes have to sacrifice the quality of the game. Like Resident Evil 2 Remake. Resident Evil 2 Remake is a game that is designed for speedrunning. Same with Resident Evil 1 Remake, but those games are so boring and just empty, and they just have no sustenance to them to really make them that intriguing of games. And really, you have to be an empty person to like an empty game like that if speedrunning is going to be the forefront of thought with the overall designs put in place. And furthermore, with certain sections put into Resident Evil 2 Remake, like for instance the Sherry section where you're just forced into an interactive cutscene moment with Chief Irons, that's what it felt like with that section. It comes across as off-putting. Like, it goes against the very nature of what the game is designed for, which is speedrunning. So you have to frame your critique of that section with the speedrunning in mind, because that's what the game is designed for. And that section with Sherry comes across as being overly negative and just like, why? Why have you put that in there? Why are you forcing me down this route when Resident Evil 7 gave me the ability to skip such sections? It's stupid.
Yeah. I mean, like, if you want another game that's like, it's not built for speedrunning, but like, it has like crazy mechanics that like, if you fully understand the game, then you have like a really good run. That like, play Xenoblade Chronicles 2, because that game has like crazy like mechanics that like you can just abuse in speedruns. But even when you play it casually, you can just abuse the game, and it's just so fun to do.
Yeah, exactly. And I forgot what I was going to say, but oh yeah, that's right. But Assassin's Creed is a series that is not designed for speedrunning because it respects its story, it respects its content, it respects everything like that. And like, like when gameplay wasn't really the forefront of the Assassin's Creed games, but they still managed to deliver some gameplay that was really satisfying with the Ezio collection, and also with like Assassin's Creed 1 and with other Assassin's Creed games. Those Assassin's Creed games felt great, but then somewhere between like Syndicate and Origins, they tried to focus more on gameplay, but they've lost the nuance. They've lost what made Assassin's Creed great, and like it's just. I mean, this doesn't relate to the whole idea of speedrunning, but like they sacrifice the quality of Assassin's Creed between Syndicate and Origins, and they tried to make all these massive worlds with nothing to do, and they just sacrificed everything that made what an Assassin's Creed game was. It's
Yeah, like that's why I'm showing like all these like Lucy dialogues in the modern day and stuff. Because like every time I play an Assassin's Creed game, like I always listen to like all the dialogue and all the missions and stuff. Like even if it wastes time, because I like hearing like all the lore and listening to all that stuff, because it shows that they actually like care to put time into it, and like literally hired voice actors to voice all of it, and hired writers to write all of it, and like they actually put effort into it.
yeah, and you want the thing with your mentality is like when you're in this mode where you're talking with Lucy right now, you're not thinking about the next section coming up, and that's just going to cause you to be very impatient. You're going with the flow of the game, and that's what's allowing you to enjoy it.
So it's safe to assume the
Like,
Animus
like
is not
I'm
part of their
when I
plan of
was recording
fate.
this, I wasn't thinking about like, oh hey, I'm
Oh
gonna
my
finish
God.
this game
She has
today
a
while
sense
I'm
of
recording
humor.
this. I'm gonna
I'm sorry,
finish
Desmond.
this
I've got
game
a
in
lot
like
of work
2
to do.
hours. I'm not
Like I
gonna
said,
do
if
that.
you
I
want to know
wasn't
more about
thinking
the
that when I
company,
was
take a
recording
look at
this.
the
I was just like,
computer.
I'm gonna listen
The
to this Lucy
telecommunications
dialogue
stack
because
is
it's important.
particularly
And even though I've
interesting.
heard it tons of times already, I know how good it is, and I can respect the time and effort that was put into you making it and like voice acting it, and like the time and effort that they actually put into making it, and like how important it is to the lore.
Yeah, and the best part is Ubisoft doesn't even force you to do these moments. It's your choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like
It's
look at
so
this right
much
here. This is
better.
another choice. You're taking the time to look at these emails because they're very important, and it's like Ubisoft isn't forcing you to do them.
And even though I've read them tons of times before and I know what they say, like I probably haven't read them enough to like say them out loud like by heart, but like I've read them enough to know like the basics of them. Like I still read them and like take the time to do that because I respect their effort.
Yeah, exactly. And to really summarize all of this, seeing as how we only have 1 minute left in the video, Assassin's Creed is in the shit right now, and they will never achieve the greatness of these older games at all with the direction they're going.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But this is where we're going to conclude the commentary, but we're going to be talking about a lot more things in the later missions. But let's give some concluding remarks, Pcol.
Some kukui.
Kukui, sorry. Let's give some concluding remarks.
Assassin's Creed is dead and all the old games are better and you should play the old games because they're better.
Exactly. And this right here, what Pcol said, will help us conclude this part, so stay tuned for the future parts.
And towels.
Yeah. But thank you all for watching.
And watch the videos that I make because they're good.